Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question.
Yeah.
And that question is, how are you doing, Jeff?
I am doing fine. I have a question for you. What are you doing? No.
I don't know.
Just putting weird pauses between random words. No.
It's unintentional. I think I was naturally just trying to do something a little bit different.
Right, yeah. You just like, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and then it ends up just going off the rails.
Yeah. So yeah, how you doing?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I took a day off from work this week.
Nice.
And because my wife's work, the library had a big car show. It was the end of their end of summer.
Oh yeah.
They have this summer reading program they do every year, and at the end of it, they have a big festival, I guess.
Yeah.
So they had a big car show, and I helped out with that.
Cool.
So I took that day off of work, and because it was done so early in the day, I feel like, oh man, this weekend is just so long. It's been really nice.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. Like there are some times where I'll take a day off towards the weekend because I need to get something done, and then it ends up just being like a nice long weekend or something. So
it's been pretty cool.
I love a 3-day weekend.
Yeah,
it's so nice.
Yeah. Also, I went to an arcade yesterday. Mm-hmm. There's an arcade about 40 minutes from us in Brighton, Michigan, called The Arcade.
Oh, okay.
And I heard about them a few weeks ago. I had to find a day when my schedule would allow for it. But went out there yesterday, played a whole bunch of games.
So just like a standard style arcade?
It's you pay $10 for the day.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, all right. Yeah, more and more are doing that sort of style, which I think is the right way to do it these days, just because
pretty much, yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with the dirty coin machines,
sure.
Handling cash all the time,
and also it means that you don't have to feel guilty playing those games that would cost $2 or $3 elsewhere.
Yeah, like the ones that eat your quarters is well, you're not doing the quarter thing anymore.
They had this one machine that there was always somebody on it. I managed to get on it for a little while. It was a Star Wars game where you step inside, basically you sit down in a cockpit where they have a hemispherical screen in front of you.
Yeah,
there's something being projected onto it. So your entire field of vision is filled with the view from your ship's cockpit.
Nice.
You've got a flight stick on the right side. You've got a thruster thing on the left side. And then you pick what battle you're going to do in Star Wars. And then you're flying around 3D space. It's all super great graphics and everything. And because it is your entire field of vision is filled with this thing that is flying around, going upside down, all sorts of stuff. In a good way, I was getting dizzy. When the ship would go up on the side, I felt like I was hanging sideways.
Yeah, you get a sort of vertigo sort of thing going where because your eyes are it's the reason why people get motion sickness is because if you I think it's if you're reading in a car because your body is moving around like you're moving, but your eyes are seeing a static place because the inside of the car doesn't look like it's moving to your brain, but then the outside is moving, so your brain's this does not compute, get sick, blah, you know?
And actually, sorry, there's a little tangent. Do you know why you get sick when that happens?
I guess not. I know I know the whole balance and thing has to do with your inner ear.
Well, yeah. So your inner ear determines your balance. There's a little sac inside your ear that has liquid in it, and your body can tell when that liquid is level or when that liquid is splashing around or if it's up on the side or whatever.
Which is
it's real weird.
It's such a weird thing that we have, but it's amazing.
But the nerves that read that data and send it to your brain are very, very close to the nerves that read whether you are being poisoned. So when it gets to your brain, it gets a little bit twisted up.
Okay.
And so when that happens, that your body is responding to being poisoned.
Oh, wow.
In which case your body's natural response is to try and vomit because presumably you have ingested poison and you're trying to get it out of your body.
Okay.
So that's why you get a little bit dizzy because your body is trying to make you throw up.
It's just like a crosswire sort of thing. That's okay.
Unless I'm mistaken, but that is how it was taught to me.
And I mean, I guess there might be some benefit to because I just always thought because you're dizzy and you're moving around, your stomach is moving around too, and the contents of your stomach is jostling around. So
yes, but I mean, you can eat while upside down.
Sure.
And you're not guaranteed to throw it up. You might because, you are working against gravity, but...
because there was that concern in the early days of space explorations. Like, are we going to be able to keep our food down? Like, if there's no gravity, how's our food going to get down there?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So.
And I mean, it is weird. Yeah. There are difficulties eating in space. But.
Yeah. But yeah, so but yeah, there's just there's a sack of fluid in your ear that your body can tell, its orientation, so it knows which way is up or whatever, or it tries to know which way is up.
Right. Anyway, so my point is, I was playing this game that if I were to play it in if there's like a movie theater or something that had this there, it would be multiple dollars to play. And I died a couple times. I got to start over just immediately. I didn't play too long because there was a line forming. I didn't want to hog the machine, but it was really cool. I also got to play a bunch of classic games. Some games that I've played on my cabinet, I got to play on the original hardware, and it's like night and day, the difference. Another Star Wars game, actually. There's a Star Wars arcade game from way back in the day that is it's a vector game, so the graphics, it's black with
wire
beams of light, basically, and the graphics alone are completely different because I'm just using an LCD monitor, which doesn't display vector graphics very well. But the original game had this it was called a Star Wars yoke is what it's referred to, because it's you're holding on to you
crack the egg open and then R2D2.
Anyway. It's not a flight stick. It's like you're holding onto the steering column of a spaceship.
Sure.
And it's called Star Wars Yoke just because that was the game that used it most prominently. But on mine, I don't have one of those, but I have a trackball that has 2 axes, which is the same as what you're creating with the yoke.
Yeah. And
so I'm able to kind of play it on my cabinet. I can play the game and see what the game is like. However, playing it on the actual controls, completely different. And it was so much fun playing this game that ostensibly is this game's 30 years old. This shouldn't be fun to someone with modern sensibilities, but it is.
Gabe, I actually have a Star Wars yoke.
You really?
Yeah. What do you call a bounty hunter's pet? I'm sorry. What do you call a bounty hunter's dog? I've screwed up the joke already.
I don't know, Jeff.
His Boba pet. Star Wars yoke.
So you want to get on to this episode, Jeff?
Yeah, let's get going. Sorry.
Anyway, so Jeff, I want you to imagine it's Tuesday and you, Jeff, are on your way home after an especially tiring day at work.
Okay.
Put your I know there's a big stretch of the imagination here.
Yeah.
But you suddenly remember you forgot to stop by the Codpiece store.
Oh, shoot.
So you make a U-turn and park next to your favorite local codpiece shop. But today, Rod, the owner, is not behind the counter. In his place stands a new codpiece salesman. His name tag reads, "Hello, I'm Snod." Snod, however, you notice, is 30 feet tall with red scales and a slightly reptilian countenance.
Okay.
And he says to you, "Good day, sir. Follow me." And then he takes you back behind the black curtain and he leads you into the Dragon's Hoard. So that was that intro was submitted by a Discord member, the Beverage Tea.
Right.
Thank you, the Beverage Tea.
Yeah, anytime.
Very much.
See, Gabe really likes it when you guys submit Dragon's Hoard intros because he doesn't have to come up with them. So he appreciates them.
I do appreciate it. Might appreciate it more if it was not
about cod pieces.
On to the magic item for today, which was also submitted by the Beverage Tea.
Mm-hmm.
Today's item is the Codpiece of Confidence. For anyone unfamiliar with what a codpiece is, it is a piece of armor.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to say. It is a piece of armor.
Yeah, it is protective wear.
Yes.
Yep.
King Henry VIII had a very large one. I've seen it when we went to England. So the Codpiece of Confidence is a rare item that grants a +2 to charisma.
Oh.
However, a -1 to wisdom and dexterity. Upon first donning this dong-protecting thong, The PC can only strut in stride with a cock-of-the-walk air.
Oh my goodness.
This overwhelming, confident presence is awe-inspiring to all that see it. However, it is impractical in battle and impairs mobility. It also dulls the mind and blunts the wearer's focus in non-combat encounters. It does not require attunement because any dingus can wear it.
Stop it.
So
be careful, Gabe's gonna put an explicit tag on this one.
To give the beverage tea some credit, there is nothing explicit about this.
No,
this is
pretty
very
tame.
close, but okay.
It's absolutely acceptable, and I love it.
So as I was saying before we started recording, it's not that this is inappropriate. However, it is a matter of whether it is the correct taste. And I realize now that my choice of words might not have been the best. What do you have to say about this item, Jeff?
Taste-wise, I prefer the like North Pacific cod.
Okay. There you go.
It's usually what they use in like fish sticks and stuff like that.
Because I don't want to talk about this item, I'll go on a little tangent here. I never liked fish when I was a kid.
Okay.
Like if my parents got fish sticks, I would eat fish sticks, but that's it. I would not eat like any other kind of fish. I would not eat it.
I mean, like with fish sticks, like again, they're usually using like a very specific type of fish that it's like doesn't have like a very fishy taste.
Yeah, it really didn't have, the fish itself didn't have much taste. It was mostly the breading.
Yeah, the breading, it's just like it has like that fish meat texture, not a lot of flavor, but then it's like, the breading, you put like seasoning and stuff in there, and that's usually good enough.
But then when we lived in Tennessee for a few years, there was a point where because of a job I was working, I had very, very cheap access to like a lot of different types of food. So I guess this is a
dinner party conflict.
A stealth dinner party conflict episode.
Surprise!
I decided because of this job that I was going to try really hard to try each of these foods that I could try, and so it really made me realize a lot of these foods that I refused to eat when I was a kid, they're not bad. They're just food.
Yeah, it's just different. Like I don't know. I don't know how much exact science there is into like the development of a palate of a kid.
Yeah,
like kids handle sugar way more than adults do.
Definitely,
that sort of thing. So like if you give them anything sugar, they go nuts for it.
Yeah.
Anybody who has kids probably knows this, or has been a child.
Right. So because I tried fish and like, hey, fish actually isn't that bad. I'm still not like, it's not my favorite food, but there was a point where we went on vacation in Tennessee. We went camping, and the place we were camping was by this lake, and there was a fish restaurant right by there, and we went there, and like I got catfish and all the stuff that came with it, and it was all so good, and like I never would have tried that even just a few months previous.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for seafood. I love it. Like I go full on with seafood. Like I love like mussels. Have you ever had mussels?
Oh, Jeff, I've always had mussels. No, it's a joke. I've never had mussels. Either kind.
Either kind. He's flexing right now. It's going the opposite way.
Yes.
It's like, like in Looney Tunes where it just kind of makes like a little U.
Goes down,
yeah. But yeah, mussels are just like the little like shell, like clam like little things, but they're very disgusting creatures, but I don't know. There's just something good about it. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever had those.
I like, all types of seafood. I love them. Anyway, cod pieces.
So this item,
it's a different thing.
I like the idea behind this. How do I word this? I like the implementation of this item.
Sure. Yeah.
I like that it gives you a bonus to charisma because of your confidence. We talked about charisma a long time ago, and I do think that confidence is a big part of that.
Sure.
I like how it also makes you not very observant, and you are less mobile because you are, maybe trying to make sure that your codpiece is always front and center, I guess.
Sure. Wisdom is low because you keep checking yourself out.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, this is like, all joking aside, I think that this is a well enough made item. I think that it is a good bit of levity. In the right campaign, I think it could be a lot of fun to introduce. But I figured we would just get this one out of the way because
it'd be like, it'd be fun if it was just like a very powerful magic item that you found on an enemy or something like that, and you're like, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
good point.
It's like, you do detect magic on this corpse. It's emanating from under his pants.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really have much else to say.
Right.
There isn't much to it.
Right.
It's the joke about what it is, but also the mechanics, like I said, are fairly they make sense.
Yep. You know. It's the mechanics are very straightforward, which is the way you want to wear your codpiece.
Goodness. I'm sure it will get a rise out of all of your players.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the submission.
Yes, thank you very much. That'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard today. Once again, that was the Codpiece of Confidence, courtesy of the beverage tea. Thank you very much for the beverage tea.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
It's fun to watch Gabe's reaction to it, so I thank you.
You and your yoke, Jeff. So anyway, Jeff, if anybody wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Hoard that are not this one, or questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. They could join our Discord by going to bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
Discord, yep.
Right, because the other one is the survey.
Yep.
Or you can come to our Facebook page, or you can go on our Twitter at InPartyConflict.
Correct.
There's also a subreddit, Reddit/r/InterPartyConflict.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah. Lots of ways to get hold of us. Emailing us is probably the well, I was about to say the quickest and easiest, but I've had several emails that it took me several days to get to lately.
It's the most direct.
You know. Yeah. But the Discord is great if you want to talk with our other listeners as well.
Yeah. I think Discord's definitely the best way to do it, because you can get so much more out of it because everyone's there always chatting about something, you know. So it's a fun place to hang out.
Yeah, we got a great community on there. All right, so before we go any further, we have a giveaway today.
What?
So a bit embarrassing, which is why I haven't brought this up lately. We haven't gotten any Chapel on the Cliffs submissions in a long time.
It's not that embarrassing. Like
I guess. I don't know. I like to keep up the illusion that we've got, millions of listeners out there that are everybody's clamoring to get to us.
Yeah.
So we haven't done one of these for a little while because we haven't gotten any submissions, and if we don't get any submissions after this episode, we probably won't do it again for a while either.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe we'll find like something new for giveaway or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. So take this as a sign that if you want this free adventure, send us an email and you'll win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
basically guaranteed.
Anyway, so
unless you all do it at once, in which case,
please do.
Sure,
that would be great. That'd be great for us. But anyway, so we are giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, which is a great adventure from Goblinstone. Jeff has actually just been running this adventure.
Yep, we just got through my second session of it, and they're on the. I feel like they're on the right track, but it's not going to be as easy as they think.
Sure. So. Again, we're giving away a copy of this every week, and this week's winner in particular is...
Our winner this week is Thomas S.
Winner! Gobble, gobble, gobble! Yes, congratulations, Thomas S. You should be getting this within the next few days. If you don't get it in about a week, let us know. I'll see if I got a copy and make sure you check your spam folder and that sort of stuff. And be sure to leave Goblinstone a review, because Goblinstone is they're a great company. They're giving away these copies for us to give to people. Yep. So, leave them a review, let them know what you like and don't like.
Yeah, they got a few other adventures. Some of them are very closely related to Chapel on the Cliffs. Yep. So there's one that I think that you could run directly after. It takes place in the same area, that sort of thing.
That's pretty cool. And Jeff, if anybody wanted to enter this drawing, once again, if you enter, you'll probably win very, very soon.
You can enter by giving us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
Yes. So, thank you very much, Thomas S., for entering. Mm-hmm. Let us know, and let Goblinstone know what you think. And everybody else, come on, send an email, get a free adventure. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a good adventure, and it's built for third level-ish, but they do have there's a supplement that comes with it that gives you stats for stuff for up to I think 6th level it goes up to. So although I don't know, just sort of putting it out there that once you get to 5th level characters, they're gonna have access to a good amount of stuff that kind of makes a lot of the things in the adventure a little trivial.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it in the 2nd to 4th level range. Mm-hmm. It's a good sweet spot. But it's not. But I feel like if you're creative enough, you can throw some stuff at them at the higher levels. That'll be fun.
Okay. So in addition to that giveaway that we're doing, I want to thank all of our wonderful patrons for making the show happen. We have a Patreon campaign at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it's a website where you can pledge a certain amount of money to give to a creator you like every month. So for us, you could give us $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, anything in between, anything above if you wanted to. And then for each different tier, you get different rewards for doing so. We just had, last week I made the announcement that I'm not going to be doing my monthly fantasy fiction anymore, at least not for the foreseeable future. But I am still going to be releasing audio versions of the stories I've already written for our lowest tier patrons. Also, we have outtakes for that tier as well. I haven't put out any outtakes in a while. I should get on that. Then we have a monthly bonus podcast for the next tier up. We just finished recording our episode for this month, and then on the highest tier we have a monthly Roll20 game that we will do with those members as well. So we've got some cool rewards on there. Go check it out. Patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. See if any of the rewards appeal to you. And if they do, consider donating and we'll appreciate it. It'll help get you some cool content and help us make the show better. Yeah. And then just one last thing. Check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. They just released a book recently that I think we might talk about in a moment about skill challenges, which is great. Also, I helped them write a book a few months ago with all of their unearthed tips and tricks from their podcast. So that's really good on there too. Yeah. They have a lot of cool stuff. They're such a great podcast. A lot of our listeners even came from them, I'm sure. So check them out, critacademy.com. Also, D&D Character Lab, Garen and Dan make characters every week and then pit them against each other and debate whose is better. And Brute Force and Ignorance is an actual play podcast on the network. A few weeks ago, they started a new storyline. So that's a lot of fun. Check them out. We had them on as guests fairly recently. So,
yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Go check out the other podcasts. Let's get into some questions, Jeff.
Cool. All right, first question comes from Peace Joy Pancakes on Discord. How do I make gathering information fun? I don't want it to be a repetitive string of NPCs that they have to persuade or threaten. And what else can the PCs use to obtain information?
Yeah, so gathering information, depending on which edition and what game you're playing, whether it's 3rd edition, whether it's Pathfinder, whether it's 4th edition, 5th edition, or other games, like I'm sure GURPS has their own method for gathering information. A lot of the time, it's just going to be a skill check. You just make a roll, and then depending on how high you roll, the more information the DM can give you.
Right.
Or it's going to be something that the DM acts out where it's like, okay, you're talking to this specific character. Yeah. And then
you have to ask specific questions.
Exactly. So there are ways to make those fun or not fun.
Yeah.
So Peace Joy Pancake is asking, like, they don't necessarily want it to be just, oh, here's just a bunch of people you have to talk to and just some roll, just some stock rolls that you have to make. What are some ways that PCs can obtain information in a way that is more interesting?
Yeah.
Now, I mainly wanted to bring this in because I did want to tie it into skill challenges. We said that Crit Academy just released a book called Challenge Accepted, which is a book all of skill challenges. I did just make a quick check, and I don't think they have one in there that is specifically gathering information from, like, just around town.
Right.
They do have one that is on interrogation.
Yeah, which I think happens more often than maybe should.
Sure.
It's one of those sort of like tropes that like parties fall into where like they like keep one alive so we can interrogate them, and then like one of the PCs goes too far and starts torturing in the first adventure or something ridiculous.
In the game that I ran at the library last week, the players knocked out an attacker, and then they are intending to interrogate him next time we play. So
just got him in a sack or something.
I might just take that book with me and then run the interrogation that way. The reason I bring up skill challenges is because, yes, skill challenges are, just skill checks that you make, and it is just, you're just talking to a person and then you're persuading or threatening them, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
A skill challenge is kind of like an encounter in and of itself that is just skills.
Right.
So the way that skill challenges work, and I've sort of covered this in the past, but like I've been rejuvenated in my love for skill challenges because of this supplement that Crit Academy just came out with. The way that it works is you have your players make skill checks, and it might be that you play out the scene, and then when one of the players is doing something that you think would be a skill check, you say, okay, now that you've said all of that, make a skill check. So the players can choose what skill they want to use. Some skills are definitely more appropriate than others, but I think generally speaking, the idea is that if they can make a good enough argument for using a skill, you should probably try to find a way to make it work.
Sure.
But at least the way that Crit Academy has put them out is that, so you've got a certain number of successes they have to make before they make a certain number of failures.
Right.
You have the skills that you think are most appropriate first, and then in the supplement, they have each of those skills that would probably be used and like what each of those skills could be in the context of an interrogation or whatever. And then some of them have additional effects. Sometimes you can use this one particular skill, but it requires you to spend not a healing surge, that's 4th edition, spend a hit die in order to make it work. Maybe like you have to prove to them that, like, okay, let's say you're interrogating someone, you have to prove to them that you're the crazy guy and you're going to beat them up or kill them if they don't talk to you. So you smash your fist into the wall or something. So maybe you have to spend a hit die to represent you're using up that much of your own like personal endurance as part of this thing. It might be that if you use this particular skill, maybe the players might not realize that skill works in this situation. If they use this skill, it counts as a success and or lets them use a different skill. So maybe the person they're interrogating or gathering information from, they are afraid of this like crime syndicate or something. So maybe when you first encounter them, you can't use intimidate because they are like the enforcer for some noble or something. And you can't intimidate them. If you intimidate them, it's automatically going to count as a failure. But if you make a local check or like a knowledge, like a nobility check to say, I know that you're in some hot water with the sharks or whatever over there. Then they're like, oh crap. He knows my affiliation with this other gang. Right. Now you are able to use intimidation or something like that.
So when you're a jet all the way, but go on.
Right. So it's not just roll a skill check, see what happens. There's a strategy to it. You want to use this skill check so that then you can use this other skill check. You want to use this spell because that allows you to use this other skill you wouldn't be able to use otherwise.
So there's like skills that you have that there's locks on, and you have to use the key to unlock it. So like there's basically a way to unlock this skill this skill would be like a automatic failure, but it could be an automatic success if you unlock it using this other skill or this other thing.
And there's different DCs for different skills. Maybe one skill is a really easy DC, but you can only do it once. Then another skill is a really hard DC, but you can keep doing it if you want to. Maybe a third skill will reduce the DC of another one if you succeed, but that itself doesn't count as a success. So like if you make that knowledge check doesn't count as a success, but it allows you to make this other skill.
That's a pretty fun like mini game sort of thing. And
the great thing is you can apply it to just about anything if you are willing to use your imagination on how it would work.
You could apply it to something that would typically be even a battle.
Absolutely. So just the reason I wanted to bring up Crit Academy's book is because reading through all of the different ways that they have articulated skill challenges, it makes it I'm so excited to use skill challenges now in my own games. So interrogation is probably the one in there that is the closest to gathering information, but you could have it be something similar as long as you understand the rules of how to do skill challenges. Another tip that I would give for having the players gather information is make sure that whatever NPCs you do have them deal with are more than just like make it sure that the NPCs aren't just something that you made up right there on the spot. You can, but it's going to get boring if every NPC is the same or every NPC is this like just faceless person or so on. I mean, I haven't been great with this sort of thing in the past, but there have been some times where I've tried to spice it up a little bit. When I was doing the Age of Worms campaign, which, we brought up many, many times, there was a point where the players were in a town. I think I was doing a little like mini adventure for each of you. And Steve's character, Shadowhand Silverbones, was going and trying to find information about, the lord of the town or whatever. And because it was a pre-written adventure, in the module, they had written a bunch of like, this is a rumor that you can give to the players if they make a successful gather information check. And at first I started out just reading off directly from the sheet. Like you find out, some people went missing over here and so on and so on. oh, there's this other thing, there's civil unrest in the, in the poor district or whatever.
Yeah.
But then as I started going through these, because the player kept making more checks, I started acting like these were all coming from a specific person. And then I started to flesh out that character more and more. And then I gave a description of that character. And then I had that character show up in later adventures. So it's not just you're just getting this from, you're asking a crowd of people. And then the crowd shout back in unison, there is civil unrest in the poor district.
You're just like, I have a list of questions and you're shouting them out to a crowd, checking them off as you go.
So if you can use gathering information as a way to create and introduce specific NPCs, then it might be a little bit repetitive when it happens, but then how you follow through with it later on, I think is going to make all the difference. Sometimes if you just need the players to have a piece of information, you're just going to have to give them that piece of information, even if it's not the most cinematic thing ever.
Yeah.
But again, how you're able to use that later, I think is the big thing. Yeah. Maybe you do have it just be the players just make a bunch of checks and ask a bunch of questions, but later on, they get attacked by a bunch of thugs because people have been asking around, you've been asking too many questions.
Yeah.
Let's do something about this. And then you can use that as a way to give out more information. Either have one of the bad guys spill some beans while they're being interrogated, or have they find like some money and a note from like the big bad or something on the person of these people that attack them. So I think that it's less about how to make the action itself interesting and more about how you follow it up later to make it worthwhile. So even if it's not interesting, hey, exposition, sometimes you just got to have exposition. Yeah. But if the exposition leads to a good story afterwards, it's all worth it. I
was trying to think along the lines of like different ways that players can get information out of things and people and stuff. Yeah. Thinking about like speak with animals spells, speak with dead type spells, stuff like that. You got the skills like persuade and everything. You just walk up to a PC and ask a question. But there are a few like higher level spells that'll like allow you to like the commune or whatever. Yeah. What is the other one? Augur?
Augury is a fairly low-level one. It kind of just tells you, like, it's good or bad.
It's a magic 8-ball sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it'll say good, bad, or both.
Sure.
Or nothing, or something like that. Yeah. Like, it's like ask again later. It's basically, a magic 8-ball sort of situation.
Yeah. Divination is a spell that you ask a question and then you're given, like, a riddle or something in response, or just like a couple sentences that may be cryptic.
Right. Because isn't it at the beginning of Shackled City where they basically like, hey, we were able to save up and use a divination spell.
Yeah, they have
here's the riddle that we got.
Yeah. It's like once a week or once a month or something, they're able to cast that spell once.
So you're able to give your players immediately a riddle to work out what they need to be doing, which I liked that. And like I think I remembered enough of it the third time going through it. I was like, oh yeah, I think this is related to this, and like stuff like using those tools to help your players along, even if they don't have access to them through their character. Maybe an NPC that they bump into has one of those spells or something. Sure. Can like help them out in that way.
Yeah, I think divinations can be really effective if used well.
Yeah. Stumble upon a like a crystal ball that was already in use or something like that, and like they see a glimpse of something before the crystal ball cracks, and so sure, they're not going to get this powerful magic item, but they got a nice little piece of information out of it.
If the players if you are looking for just more interesting ways to deal with actual interrogation or threats. Having listened to a lot of the Adventure Zone, they're playing a game called Monster of the Week, which I think is like a subset of Powered by the Apocalypse, which is a fairly simple resolution system. It's like you roll 2d6 and add something, I think. Okay. And there's success, there's failure, and then there's like a mixed success. But depending on the context, there's always like little variations in there. And one thing that has come up several times where a player has gotten a mixed success that I think is really interesting is it is the idea that what you've done will succeed, but only if you do something right now for the other person. So like they will make a demand of you, and they will help you as long as you fulfill their demand. So it might be, instead of just saying, okay, yeah, that you rolled a perception or you rolled a persuasion check, so he tells you whatever. It might be, look, I'll tell you, but only if you do this for me first.
Right.
And that might be, I want you to go and fight this guy and make him leave me alone.
Right. Yeah. Or, it's like a shopkeeper. He's like, go beat up that shopkeeper or he's stealing my business.
Or it might be, give me some money.
Right.
Like, how interesting would that be if the party of paladins and like lawful good PCs go in there and they're like just trying to get some information, and the guy's like, you give me enough money, I'll sell these guys out.
Right.
That could be a moral quandary.
Yeah.
Because, it's for a good purpose, but you are basically bribing somebody to help you.
Yeah. And that and it could come up later that person used that money to do something nefarious.
There you go.
Could have used that money to go kill somebody.
Yeah. So, I think, again, it's how you follow through with this stuff. It's not just the fact that you're having them make a roll or talk to somebody, but how you follow through with it, I think, is going to make all the difference.
Yeah. Our next question comes from Jason on Discord. What should you do when a PC retires mid-campaign? How best to incorporate a new character into an existing party plot-wise?
Yeah, this can be a difficult thing, because when you're playing in a group of people who have been, fighting these bad guys, and they've been putting their lives on the line, relying on each other, becoming very close story-wise. It is always really weird when one of those characters dies, and then they're just like, "Hey, you person in the bar, come with us.
Yeah.
We're gonna tell you all of these like earth-shattering secrets, and put our lives in your hands, and you're gonna do the same to us."
Yeah,
it's always a little weird.
And it's not always deaths. It could just be the player stops playing, and so you have to kind of like write that PC out, or maybe they're just done with that character.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to deal with this. I don't want to spend too long on this, because we could talk about the different methods like forever.
Bunch of different examples.
Right. One thing that I've done in a few previous campaigns that I think it has helped for those campaigns, but isn't necessarily always an option, is if at the start of the campaign you make it clear that the party is part of a larger group than just the PCs present.
Right.
So like a lot of campaigns, from what actual plays I've listened to, it seems like a lot of campaigns start off with the players being inducted into a guild of some sort.
Right, yeah.
Lots of time that just happens. One of the benefits of that is once one of those players dies or retires, then if someone else joins the party, they're also from that guild. It makes sense for these people to already be familiar with that person.
Right.
Although you haven't necessarily focused on, oh yeah, we know this guy. It could be that, we've known him for a long time. He hasn't been an adventuring partner of ours, but every time when we're having downtime between adventures, we're going to the bar. We're going, we're sparring out in the yard and stuff. So it's a much easier conceit that you would already know this person when they show up.
I feel like if you're in a particularly if you're in a group where death isn't like a thing, death is something that actually happens to your characters, and like you're aware that you could have to be rolling a new character or something like that pretty soon. Like if you're in one of these groups, you could be kind of like grooming an NPC to be your next PC. Yeah. So you guys go to this one tavern all the time, and so you buddy up with the barkeep or something like that, and you might be like, okay, I'm going to become the barkeep is now going to join us, and because I've been making friends with this barkeep, we kind of know his backstory already or something like that, and be like, yeah, he's a tough guy, so I was a wizard, but no, this guy he's a barbarian monk or something.
Sure.
So you can kind of start building your backup beforehand.
Yeah, if you're willing to put in if you're willing to have a little bit of preparation, a little bit of foresight, you can make this work pretty well by setting up some sort of an NPC that is going to be your successor, by having, even if it's the party saved a bunch of people a few adventures ago, and then, hey, one of them is now following in those players' footsteps. That's a bit of a foot in the door to get them involved in the group. And another thing, here's an idea, make the fact that the party isn't a very good fit at first, make that part of the conflict. Make it so that everyone acknowledges that, yeah, we don't really know this guy very well. Yeah, it's weird because we're used to having a healer and now we have like this, I don't know, this DPS guy or whatever.
Yeah.
That if you make that into a source of drama, a driving force for role-playing or even the adventures that are going on, then that can, it's not going to be the same. It's, of course, especially if someone dies or retires like abruptly,
yeah,
it's gonna be weird because that's what happens. You know, anytime you have a job where like a longtime coworker leaves and is replaced with somebody else, there's going to be some friction there.
Yeah.
So acting like that friction can't be a good thing is a bit disingenuous because like everybody knows it's awkward. So play into that awkwardness, have that be part of the fiction as well.
Sure.
You know, it's not the greatest solution. It would be great to just be able to have someone else jump in and then just pick up right where you left off.
It's that story of the kid who's never played D&D before or whatever. His character dies and he just writes Junior in the next to the name. Or,
yeah.
Well, I'm here to avenge my father. You know.
Sure.
Just kind of go into it and be like, all right, cool, here we go.
I mean, like it's always hard when something like that happens, but try to find what is the best fit for your group. I think that if you use that tension, that friction to, make a good game, like if the first adventure with this new character goes really poorly, then that can lead to some, inter-party conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it goes well, that can be when your characters now accept that person as part of the group.
Right, yeah.
There's always like the lone wolf or whatever that nobody really gets along with until they save that character's life or that character saves their lives.
Sure, yeah.
So once that happens, and as the DM, if you're able to, again, however much preparation you're able to put into this, if you can make an adventure that is all about that conflict, maybe put the party in a situation where they have to rely on that person to survive. They have no option. And then once that, maybe even make an adventure where it seems like that person is working against the rest of the party. And then when it turns out that they're not, and that they were loyal to the rest of the party the whole time, that can all be driving forces for the campaign.
Yeah.
Now, as far as, I guess, just some more ideas on how to get them involved. It could be a relative, it's a little bit of a easy, a really convenient way to do it.
It's nothing really against it or anything like that. But, cause like if it's going to be too much of a hassle to try and do it a different way.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, it was sort of just an abrupt death.
Mm-hmm.
And that player's not super, like, it doesn't want to really play anything differently.
Yeah.
They might be all right with that character dying, but they still want to just play the same way.
Sure.
You just kind of maybe do something like that. Like, it's, you kind of play it off as a gag, but you just kind of keep going. It's like, technically it's like the character never really died.
Sure.
But, it'll be just sort of a running gag. It's like, oh yeah, no, I mean, my dad did that, but I remembered him doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always come up with some sort of like a weird plot device that like, oh, his spirit is now in me or whatever.
Right.
And so I remember all of this stuff. Like Final Fantasy V was, in my opinion, I really like Final Fantasy V. I thought it was a really good game in the Final Fantasy series. But there is a point about 3/4 of the way through the game where one of the main characters dies, and then one of the character's relatives shows up and is like, "Oh, I got all of his powers now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now we're all just act like I'm that old character." And then that's pretty much all it is from then on.
Fall right into it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can do that with whatever level of clunkiness you want to do it. Just try to see it coming before, have some sort of a contingency in place in case that happens.
Yeah.
And if it is that the character retires and not dies, that character can still be a presence in the campaign. They might not be adventuring with you anymore.
Yeah.
But if you can go back and talk to them between adventures or be like, hey, this new member we got is not working out. That other character can be like, hey, stick with it. We didn't get along at first either.
Yeah.
We had that one adventure where like, I thought you were going to kill me or whatever, work through it with them. And that character can give advice to the existing parties. I actually think the idea of a XPC as mentor is something that is a great idea that doesn't get used very often.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I do like that.
So, just my main piece of advice for this is preparation. Preparation and forethought will go so far as far as this is concerned. So that's the best advice I would give. Forethought, and then when possible, try to play up the tension.
Sure.
Make that into part of the game.
Yep. Yeah. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Colton on email, and they ask, is it okay to kill a PC for the story? For example, one player stays behind to ensure the safety for the rest of the party. So go on without me, I'll hold them off sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Colton sent this email, and I gave him some suggestions, and I'll try to paraphrase what those suggestions are here. So the idea was that like a character is going to stay behind and fend off the baddies. The rest of the party got to safety. And then Colton was wondering if it'd be reasonable to simply decide that the character died off screen during the last stand. Would it enhance the story to do that? Now, the question for that is, the question I asked Colton was, how hands-on is the player in question? If the player is okay with the DM making decisions for them in terms of the story, then I say go for it. But again, that's if the player is okay with that. Some players are okay with that. Some players are like, no, if my character is going to die, I want to see the dice play out.
Sure.
I want to be there when it happens. I want those decisions to have as much of my agency as possible.
Yeah, because off-screen deaths can be kind of disappointing.
Yeah, they can be. If it feels like it came out of nowhere or whatever, like if the player was hoping to actually play out that battle, it can be a bit disappointing for the player. But I think probably most players who are like, hey, I'll stay back, you guys go, are probably assuming they're going to die, right? I mean, that's kind of the point, right? Because if they weren't expecting to die, just have everybody stay and fight them all off, and then everybody can leave or whatever.
Yeah.
So if the player is cool with that, I say go for it. I told Colton, your players better than I do, so answer that for yourself. If you aren't even sure if the player would be okay with it, talk to them. Pull them aside, say like, hey, so you wanted your character to stay back, you wanted your character to fend off the bad guys while everybody else fled. Do you intend for your character to die? If so, is it okay if I just say your character died and then we don't actually play it out? Because there are some cool things that you can do with that.
Yeah.
You might say, you might just tell the group, okay, you guys left. You don't know what happened to the PC's character.
Yeah.
Then maybe the character didn't die. Maybe the character number one got taken a prisoner, and you might encounter them later on. Either they have escaped or they've been tortured for the last however long, and the players now save them.
Right.
And then they have to live with all of the trauma of what happened.
Right.
It could be that they died and somehow came back from the dead.
Sure. Or
maybe they encounter that character's soul or something.
Or
their ghost or whatever. Maybe one of the other characters gets haunted by that character because like, I know I said to leave me, but you shouldn't have left me.
Yeah, well, how dare you do what I said you to do? Brought back raised dead or something like that, or like a necromancer turned them into an undead or something like that, or like through some experimentation got turned into a lich or something. I don't
sure.
Many different ways that you can have them come back as an enemy or as just like some sort of conflict or something.
Yeah. If you think that the player would be okay with you doing stuff with their character,
right?
Off screen, you could have it be that they got taken prisoner and now they got brainwashed and they are now like the bad guy's general or something.
Sure.
So a later encounter could be against the previous PC, and he's like, you guys shouldn't have left me.
Right.
I'm going to make you regret leaving me. And then they're like, no, but you told us to leave you. You were going to say it, whatever.
Yeah.
That can lead to an intense battle later on because maybe half the party wants to fight him. Half the party wants to leave.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the, whatever is left with the 50-50, whatever else is left could be trying to convince him, look, we didn't leave you. We were going to die ourselves.
Yeah.
And trying to not fight, but instead convince this character to, break his brainwashing and realize that these are your old friends. Maybe the character stayed back and won.
Sure.
And now when the party comes through here in a later thing, there's a new king in control, or there's like a new like bandit leader, and oh shoot, we know him. And he's like, hey guys, what's up? Or he's like, you guys shouldn't have left me.
Right,
you know.
Yeah. So there's a lot you could do with that for sure.
Right.
I was actually thinking of an example I was thinking of was Lord of the Rings, the movie trilogy.
Sure.
Where like Gandalf falls in at the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
And then it's during the it's the beginning of the second one where it like shows what happened after he fell.
You see them like falling down this quote unquote bottomless pit fighting this Baelor.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So like, I was like, it'd be kind of cool, like to have like, it's like this off-screen death, but then like you and that player, like the DM and that player could kind of play out what actually happens. Cause like maybe they do want to see how well he would fend off going against like by himself against all whatever.
Sure.
Play it out. And then like maybe actually play out a story so that like when it does come to the rest of the party, like finding this character or finding out the fate of this character, like you would have actually played it out and know what happened.
Sure.
And yeah, maybe he was able to to escape some other way.
Yeah.
He was able to distract the enemies by taking them through a different route and actually managed to to lose them. And you can kind of do it even a little side adventure that you're just doing with this one person.
Very much.
Something.
That is actually a great idea. At the time, tell the player okay, you guys don't know what happened to this character. And then after the session or between sessions, pull that character aside and be let's play out this battle. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And then, maybe the player escapes. Maybe the player is saved by a god looks down and sees him giving his life to save his friends. Boom, gives him a whole bunch of divine power, smites all the enemies or whatever, and then now that character is like a demigod or something for sacrificing themselves for the greater good.
Right.
Or maybe one day the players are just walking along and they come across an amnesiac beggar who they look at him for a moment and they're like, wait a minute, we know this guy, and it's their old friend, but he's been through hell, literally or figuratively. Who knows?
Yeah, he might not remember anything. Yeah.
So I talk to the player. Use your best judgment for how you think the player will like you doing stuff with their character and and again, talk to them and see how they feel, but also use your best judgment. Yeah. And then either decide for yourself whether the character succeeded or failed. If they, in either case, maybe they killed them all. They killed all of the bad guys, but died themselves.
Sure.
Maybe they killed all the bad guys and got away. Maybe they died, but the end result could possibly still be good. They now live on as a hero in everybody's memories, or they died or were captured and now they're a bad guy or something. There's a wide array of potential endings for that. And I think all of them have potential to be amazing. So I think this is really cool if a player is willing to do that. Probably the worst possible scenario is if the player is no, I want to play out this battle and I better not die. I'm doing this thing to be heroic. I expect to win.
Right. Yeah.
I don't. It's some players do. Some players act that way though.
Yeah,
is the thing.
I'm going to be crawling out of the ashes of this crumbling castle.
Right. And for one of my fantasy fictions actually that I wrote maybe a year ago, maybe not quite a year ago, was it was based on, so our good friend Jay had a character who very much had the mentality of I'll stay back and fend them off. There was a point in the campaign where he left the campaign because he decided that his character wouldn't. All of our characters ran away basically from this big bad, and he decided his character wasn't going to do it, so he was going to stay. And he also, I think, he had lost interest in that campaign, or for whatever reason, he stopped playing with us as well. And I don't know how much of it was him saying it or me, but over the years, I got these ideas for what could his character be doing in all this time now that our character's left.
Yeah.
And so one of the stories is his character having lived on and become a folk hero, basically. And so even just the idea, the potential story that can come from a player staying behind and then surviving whatever it is that they're staying behind for can be really interesting. So I would say you can do this. To directly answer the question, you can. It's okay to do it, assuming your player is okay with it. But I think that there you got to make sure that you do something interesting with it.
Sure.
Whether you kill off the character or not kill off the character or whatever.
Yeah.
Make sure that it has a measurable impact on the campaign.
Yeah.
Even if it's just now the character, the rest of the surviving characters know that one of their own is gone now. So we have to make sure that we keep going in honor of their memory.
Yeah. And even if you come up with some cool thing to have happened to this PC and like maybe it doesn't have a place in the rest of the campaign, like you at least have that in your back pocket for future campaigns or adventures. Like the story of the folk hero or whatever.
Yeah.
Like in your mind, you have this backstory of this hero that you can just kind of throw out there in any of your adventures and campaigns, just like as a extra little tale or legend you can kind of throw in there. It's like, you don't have to be pulling from books and movies. You can be pulling from your own past adventures that you've had, stuff that you didn't end up using, but you thought was a pretty cool idea at the time or something. So
yeah. And I think that it's a little bit of a different topic, but I think that all DMs and or writers, whether they mean to or not, have a little mental pocket of all of these stories they've been tucking away for the perfect time.
Yeah, a little backlog of ideas.
And as a DM, that's always great stuff to pull from for whenever you need an interesting NPC. Just bam, pull out one of those ones from before. So yeah, hopefully we did a good job of answering that question. I'm sure this is a topic that like lots of people have dealt with.
Sure.
So hopefully, there's some good stuff to be gained from that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our regular questions for today. But we do still have our social media discussion questions. Last week's question was critical successes and failures on skill checks, yay or nay?
I can't remember if I said yay or nay. I feel like it was just one of those things that just happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, we're doing critical skill checks. But it's just one of those things when a player sees a 20 on their die, they're like, I win. So you're like, well, I'm not going to quash that. I'm not going to say, no, you didn't win, because you probably did succeed.
Yeah, it's a hard topic to deal with because like a 20 is probably going to be a success every time. If it's not, why are you having the players roll?
Right.
I think we talked about some reasons why someone might still have the players roll last time. And we also talked about like, you shouldn't be able to do something that's impossible, even if it is on a natural 20. But if it happens, what's the harm?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. There was a thing last session. There's a thing that came up where like one of my players now has an insane perception. They took the alert feat. No, it was the one that gives you +5 to your passive possession.
We kept saying it was alert, but it's not. It's observant.
Observant. Yeah. So because that alert gives you +5 to your initiative.
There you go.
I think that's where we're getting confused. But anyway, she's got like a 22 passive perception. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then like it's like, well, okay, I want to look out at this thing, and then they rolled like a 19, and I'm like, well, it's very far away. Yeah. Here's what you can see. Like, from this distance, you can't make out any detail, but you can definitely tell this and this. It's like, and they were like, if I got a 20, would have seen more. And I'm like, I was just like, no. Like, I was just like, you're confident that at this distance, this is the best you're gonna do. Yeah. But like I gave him as much as made sense for like, it's like you're looking like half a mile away from yourself. Like there's only so much you're going to make out.
Generally speaking, I don't really like criticals to begin with. It always bothers me when people add in critical rules for attacks and such. That being said, in our library games, I do find myself occasionally giving players extra stuff on a high roll of a skill check, or giving like arbitrary penalties on a very, very low roll. I think that's a little bit different because those games generally have less stakes, and I'm trying to have just a very short, condensed, exciting game, and saying, sorry, you fail is less exciting. So I run those games differently than I run my dedicated games.
Yeah, because in a longer game, you don't want to have you don't want each roll to be a huge thing because it's going to take forever. Right. So it's like, I'd rather just like, okay, roll again. Okay, you did it.
I've also come to realize that criticals bother me so much in D20 systems because it's a 5% chance. 5% is fairly common in a given session, you will probably have a few criticals.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been listening to like the Film Reroll and Adventure Zone, which both use like multiple D6 systems. And in those, criticals are much rarer because how often are you going to roll 3 6s on a 3d6? Far less than 5% of the time. You might get one of those maybe in a session. Maybe you will get one.
Yeah.
But with natural 20s and natural 1s, you roll those all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm much less interested in those in a D20 system. And I mean, hey, if you feel differently, I'm not saying you should be wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. Just my own personal preferences. I feel like criticals should be, if you're going to give huge benefits or huge drawbacks on criticals, then they should be more rare. Because like with all the charts and stuff that are out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, rolling like a double zeros on a D100 roll for like a critical threat table or whatever is pretty rare. But generally, critical tables have so many things on there that are hugely above and beyond normal criticals that like I just don't like them.
Yeah.
So I was actually curious to see what people said about criticals on skills and such. And we got a good number of responses, most of which are pretty quick, pretty short. So I think we'll read most of them. Over on Facebook, Dan from Brute Force and Ignorance says, of course, your ranger leaps toward you as the floor falls from beneath her feet. Roll a strength check. Natural 20, you clasp her hand in one swift movement, bringing her to safety. Natural 1, you miss, she falls. Peter K says, yay, but nothing extreme. It has to fit in, such as you try to pickpocket someone and your hand gets stuck in his pants and now you have to follow him very close or get caught. Too extreme would be you try to pickpocket someone and your armor breaks. I actually really like the idea that it's not that you automatically fail, it's that you now have to do something or you will automatically fail. I actually really like that idea there.
That's a funny image too. I like that a lot.
Yes.
Like, oh, shoot.
Because I've been watching a lot of, like there's a TV show called Burn Notice I've been watching a lot of. Also, the show Nowhere Man is kind of similar in scope. There's a lot of like sort of spy stuff that happens in those shows, and that sounds like something that would come out of one of those. Someone messes something up, but they still get out of it, but only at the cost of having to do something really tense or embarrassing.
Right, yeah.
Samuel O says, no, I think only for combat. Maybe it does something non-permanent, like if they roll a 1 on perception, say, the sun dazzles your eyes and you can't see really well for a few seconds. So maybe like the next round, you take a penalty or something. I could see that. Colin W says, yay, sometimes people mess up and sometimes idiots accomplish the impossible to their skill level, not literally impossible.
Right.
Chaos. Adam B says, yay, if it's appropriate or makes sense, the rule of cool. Justin says, sure, roll a 20 or a 1 on a skill check still doesn't mean you're going to get an auto success. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. The player says, can I jump to the moon? The DM says, you can certainly try. The player rolls a natural 20. Woohoo, did I make it? The DM says, you put everything you have into your jump, reaching your new high jump record. Still a long way from the moon, though.
Right.
So not necessarily an automatic success, but above and beyond what you've ever done before.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
Because, I think we brought up that example last time, and I was like, okay, if they try to do that, they got really high and they're excited because it's a 20, but maybe you, like, point something out to them because they're so high up, they have like vantage point and they can see something that they otherwise missed or something like that.
Sure.
So give them a reward for rolling that 20, but it's not an auto success.
I've seen it was mostly like in 3rd edition, people would use this rule where a 20 equals a 30 and a 1 equals a -10.
Oh.
So the idea is that it's not that you can do something impossible, but if you get the highest possible roll, you do well above what a 20 would have given you.
Okay.
So again, it's not you don't do the impossible, but you do amazing, like way better than you've ever done before.
That definitely works more towards like earlier editions of D&D.
Yeah, in 5th edition, I don't think it would work. Maybe like a 25 or a -5. But in 5th edition, I feel like if you're rolling a 20, you probably made the DC. If you rolled a 1, you probably missed the DC.
Yeah.
So I don't know how well that would actually play out. But it would make people feel like their 20 or 1 was especially powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then one more on Facebook. Eric B says, yes. Straight to the point.
Yeah, there you
Over on Reddit, we just got a couple. King J EXE says, depends on how it's executed. If the thing attempted is patently impossible, then the natural 20 isn't going to suddenly make it possible. However, it may have other humorous or beneficial effects. Same for natural ones.
Yeah.
The player doesn't suddenly die and nothing incredibly terrible happens, but it fails in a more spectacular, interesting, or humorous way. And then Too Long Didn't Read version is, I don't think crit success or failure should change the outcome, but I'd like to add extra flair or flavor for getting a special result that you only have a 1 in 10 chance of getting either one.
Gotcha.
And I think when in my library games, that's pretty much what I do. I'll give some sort of a mainly flavor description of what happens, but sometimes like I had when the players got attacked by some assassins in the inn, I had when the bad guy rolled a 1 or something, I had him like he broke a table instead, and one of the other players heard it and it woke them up.
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Gizmo Trunks says, I like giving misleading or outright wrong information on a natural 1. A 20 doesn't guarantee success. The DC still rules and can be impossible to beat, but I try to make something else cool happen or give some other piece of info. And we've talked about that in the past about whether to give, how obvious to make it when a player fails.
Which, like, when you roll a 1, it's like, oh, I failed. So whatever I get is going to be the wrong thing. I already know that.
That's the thing.
And we've talked about that, too, of, like, hiding skill rolls. Yeah. But it takes away
there's repercussions of that, and I don't think that's necessarily within the scope of the game. So, yeah, if you're doing that as a DM, just make sure your group is cool with it. Over on Twitter, Collins B says, no, as in they don't equal automatic success or automatic failure. DC 30 is a thing on the DM screen for a reason. However, since 1 and 20 are still the best or worst possible rolls, keeping that in mind when role-playing the result is totally fine, even if they don't succeed or fail. And then a new person on Twitter, I think it is Gonçalo Gil. Or if that is French, it is Gonçalo Gil, because the C has a little cedilla on the bottom. Anyway, G. Gill says, no, as in it's not an automatic success. To me, rolling a 20 is the best possible outcome of your own ability in that skill. In the event that someone would, say, try to seduce the mad lich they're fighting and rolls a 20, I'd say maybe the lich is startled and they get an opportunity to strike or something else that would make sense, not necessarily achieving their goal of the lich falls madly in love with me,
right?
But still something useful they enjoy.
Sure.
In the same fashion, critical fails don't necessarily equal a super cataclysmic event.
Right.
Like rolling a natural 1 on anything should not mean your character dies, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't even think you should go as far as like you drop your weapon or something like that, because that's like
that's something that I have grown to dislike as well.
Yeah.
Over on Discord, the Beverage Tea says, for silly groups that relish the exaggeration of crit rolls, yay. For rules lawyery groups, nay. For my own personal games, yay. I have a silly group. Stiltskin Kupo 84 says, I'm going to go full troll and say yay for charisma checks only. Okay.
So seduce that lich.
Yeah. Avon Schill says, I've been doing critical successes and critical failures for attack strikes since I played 2nd edition, but I don't really like the critical success or failure on skill checks. Kind of feel like it makes some DCs pointless. I know it's only a 5% chance, but it can potentially take away from some PCs that have a high plus in a particular skill that just don't land a 20. And I agree, a 5% chance is still pretty high.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's going to happen several times per session.
Right. Like, if I had a 5% chance of perfectly succeeding on everything that I do
everything 20 times.
Right. Exactly. Like I would not give up as much as I do on things. It's like, well, I can't, if I won perfectly every 20th match of Overwatch.
Yep.
I mean, that's still a lot of potential losses.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, every 20th match roughly,
I'll be honest.
And if I did perfectly, I would, because I would record myself all the time and be like, look at this perfect match. This was amazing.
Dude, I had one of those matches a few days ago.
Gabe rolled a 20 on his Overwatch check.
But I've put in so many matches and almost all of them are abject failure.
Right. So. Yeah. So, but if every 20th time you did a thing,
that would be pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
Jason says, I like them. I've seen very skilled athletes just faceplant before, even though they are highly trained. So I think it makes sense that even if you have like plus 10 to jump, sometimes you just fall on your face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Peace Roy Pancake says, I mean, why shouldn't it apply to skill checks? Depending on the situation, I might flavor it differently. For example, something unforeseen happens and ruins the thing they were trying to do. No matter how stealthy you are, if someone opens the door and just stares you straight in the face, well, not much you can do at that point.
Yeah.
Because if they roll, then there are some kind of stakes involved. Otherwise, it would just work outright. That's a good point. If it's going to work outright, don't have them roll.
Yeah. I try to do that, honestly. One is just like less time taken rolling dice and checking DCs and stuff like that. It's just like, no, you're far enough away. They're not going to see you.
Yeah. Just a couple more. Glomdy says, I don't think it has to be yay or nay. I rule that in general you can crit, but if it's something exceptional, I will be upfront with the players that they cannot crit success.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Floofy Shoob says, I use the Palladium system, which uses percentage for skill checks, so I guess that's a no for me. And then just one more. Damien from Adventures in Aurelia says, I don't really like criticals on skill checks. One problem is I feel like it's a lot harder to balance the two to each other. Searching for information, critical success is easy. You find exactly what you were looking for without fluff or misdirection. Critical fail, what happens beyond just failing? The books all disintegrate? Picking a lock, critical fail is easy. Breaking the lock picks, break the lock, make it super obvious what happened, maybe the picks are jammed and the lock can't even be removed. Critical success, the door opens extra gooder. But I also dislike it for people attempting something that makes no sense on the off chance they crit.
Sure.
And there was some more discussion after this about how those could be articulated. But
right. Yeah, because I feel that is a good point, because it sort of like sets a precedent of like, okay, I just need to try it because every 20th time,
exactly,
I could get a perfect success.
And that is actually something that really bothers me in a lot of players, where you throw a challenge at the players that they're supposed to be afraid of. They're supposed to know they can't beat it, so they're supposed to run away. Lots of DMs do stuff like that. But then you've got the one player that's like, but what if I get a critical?
Right.
So they stay back and attack in the hopes they get a critical. They don't, and then they die.
Right, yeah.
So, I don't know. I do dislike the precedent that it sets as well. So, I don't know. Anyway, a lot of different opinions there. I think none of them are right or wrong. Hey, we're all in this together. We can all, discuss what we like or dislike.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. So thank you to everybody who responded to that one. Now, this week's social media question it was actually submitted by Lone Revenant on Discord. What do you use as a mini alternative? So an alternative to miniatures. What do you use? Because we covered this in our very first episode.
Oh, did we?
But they were submitting it as a potential social media question. Yeah. I'd love to see what our listeners have to say.
Super easy one, dice.
Yeah, dice is what I use primarily.
Got plenty of dice on the table. Might as well use them as your mini or something like that.
Yeah,
coins.
Jay used a whole bunch of coins when we fought like a whole bunch of orcs or whatever.
Yeah, just like a bunch of pennies and stuff.
Yeah.
So that works fine.
Yeah, anything that is small and you can easily keep track of. I like dice because of the numbers on them, so you can easily number them.
Yep. Lego guys,
yeah.
Yep, little Lego.
If you have a lot of them.
Yeah, little Lego pieces. That'll work too. So
yeah.
I mean, like plenty of objects that you can use, but yeah, like I feel like dice is really the go-to one.
Yeah, probably the perfect size, and
there was a time actually where I had something that had 20 hit points, and so I just used a D20 and used the 20 as like a health counter.
That's pretty good. If you had a spin down die, that'd be even easier.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's our questions for this week. So before we close out, let's sit back, let's relax, let's take a deep breath.
That was good. I'm going to do another one. Nice.
There we go. So let's remember those who have come before us, who have given their lives so that we may have a better life with that new PC that joined us, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. And this is a quick short one. This is submitted by Redwood Riadra on Reddit. Say that 3 times fast.
Right.
And the story goes, in the first round of the first battle of the campaign, my character cut off her own head. Thanks, critical hit and miss tables.
Oh. Dang it.
That may have been chosen on purpose.
Right.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, so
that's when I would write Junior and just keep going, because the heck?
Her daughter springs out from her severed head. All right, so I guess let's raise a glass in memory of Redwood Riadra's character, who reminds us of the importance of starting off the campaign ahead. Clink.
Oh, jeez.
All right, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games.
Speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time,
crit while you're ahead.
Oh, that's good.